Parents, from the time they get the diagnosis, they pretty much start worrying. What will happen to my child if something happens to me? Who will take care of my child the way I have?
Well, autistic kids become autistic adults, right? Well, how come we only hear about the kids?
It's not easy looking after people who are autistic. They're like little babies who are in sort of big bodies. They look like regular teenagers, but their needs are that of, little children.
It's in everybody's family's dream to thrive, not just to survive.
This is what I shelter behind the screen. This is my room.
A baby is born. He is beautiful and perfect. His parents dream big: astronaut, president, scientist. Anything is possible. He gets a label: autism. Instead of playdates, sports, and diplomas, there are doctors, therapists, and medications. As he grows, there is progress, clarity, acceptance. The baby turns 16. He is beautiful and perfect. This is Liam, and I'm his mom. Typical parents raise their children to become independent adults who contribute to society. They look forward to milestones like graduations, first jobs, and weddings. Autism parents face the future with confusion and terror. We don't know what will happen to our children or who will care for them. Will Liam get a high school diploma? Will he be able to work? Where will he live? Will he have friends? A partner? How can I make sure he lives the kind of life he wants for himself? In this film, I search for answers to these questions.
Aging out is a term used in the special needs community to refer to that time period when a child, or at this point a young adult, ages out of the school system and into the system of adult care. That could be anywhere between ages 18 and the day they turn 22. But their needs don't diminish. Their needs, if anything, become more acute because their parents become less able to care for them.
There's a lot of uncertainty for this transition, this aging out process.
In the adult system, there's no village. You're kind of on your own.
Some adults with autism will graduate from college, have a career, and live independently. Many will not, and that group is largely absent from popular culture. My friend Mayreen is a single mother to 2 teenagers who have autism. Mayreen has grave concerns about the constant care her son and daughter need.
I'm Mayreen. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers on the spectrum. My daughter is Minna. She's 19 and a half. Right now, I do everything for her. I make her food and I give it to her. I have to tell her to eat it as well because she, somehow or other, she seems to forget about food. I've asked her what she would sort of like to be or do when she's an adult. Her response has that she would just like to do YMCA. So she doesn't know what it would be to be independent. She's very dependent upon me.
They might need housing, they might need day programs, they might need supervision, they might need medical care, they'll need therapies, they'll need transportation. These people can't drive, most of them can't even take the buses on their own.
Zen, my son, is 15 and a half, and he's nonverbal. He'd get into everything. He would find a lot of things to tear. He would get into everything that he would think that he can eat or he should try eating. He has a celiac disease, so he's not supposed to have gluten at all. And then, of course, that would sort of make him sick again. That would be a huge problem. But yes, he would really focus on the kitchen. And then since he's not toilet trained, then there's that aspect. He wouldn't be able to handle that. So it would be disaster, basically.
So many needs for so many of these people, 24/7, 365 days a year, need to be covered. So falling off the cliff is a term that's more often used than just aging out.
They're my responsibility. So if I have to step out of the house, I have to make sure that if I get late or whatever, so there's always somebody there, who can sort of receive them. Right now, I'm working from home so that I can be available to them. Everything I do has to sort of has to cater to their needs first.
My son Liam was one of 28,000 children diagnosed with autism in California in 2005. All those children are reaching adulthood at the same time now, as well as the adults before them and the adults who will come after them. There are currently over 91,000 people with autism receiving services from the state of California.
The percentage of people with disabilities in California, and because of the explosion of autism, is getting higher and higher and higher. And it's really putting a tax on that state system. I don't know how that state system is going to continue to be able to take care of the growing numbers of people who are going to need their services.
Because of lack of funding and budget cuts, many of the crucial services needed to equip our students to go into adulthood have been cut. Recreational services, community outings, social recreational activities. These are very often the skills that students on the spectrum need more support with, and those are not available at this time.
The situation is looking hopeless because right now the existing service that we have in California do not meet the needs of individuals with autism.
It's going to be a very bad situation if more day programs close. There's no funding to handle the cost of doing business. And people think because you're a community-based organization that somehow, some way through prayer and hope that all those other things will be taken care of, and it's not true. Many of the providers are mom and pop shops who have a passion and want to serve this community, but they don't have the capacity to weather these kinds of storms. They just can't.
You do need that support, those services, and if they're not there, or they're sort of reduced considerably, I think a lot of parents would have a lot of problem.
Children with autism get most of their services through the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It's federal, and it mandates that every child who qualifies must have access to educational supports that enable them to achieve their potential. If a student can't earn a high school diploma, like Liam, they qualify for continued IDA services until age 22. This is often where parents, students, and advocates say the ball gets dropped.
The goals under the IDA are supposed to look at independent living skills, if appropriate, employment, and education. But many parents don't know that there are options available post-secondary. So if the parents don't know that those options are available, then the staff is not able to meet the parents' needs as they've identified it on behalf of the student. Will that change? I don't think so.
Well, next year, I think when I'm 19, I'm supposed to be not getting graduated until I'm 19.
Are you looking forward to graduating from high school?
Yes, but I'll be 19, and then, okay.
When people with disabilities are well supported, when they are trained to have job skills, when they are given independence and they are given education, they are more likely to become a contributing member of society, which means that they will be contributing to taxes. They can be tax-paying citizens. They can have a meaningful job. We won't be paying for them to be in jails or homeless shelters. If we give people the services that they need during that transition phase, early in adulthood, they are more likely to not need financial help from the state later. It's just a fact.
A diploma is shows that you graduated, or a certificate of completion.
And what does that mean to you to get that?
That just means to complete and say that you're already a graduate from school. And then they have the transition program.
Regression also happens post-secondary because students are taken out of their structured setting where they might have access to services on a daily basis, such as speech or social or other modeling aspects that are beneficial to them. So when they go into other workplaces or other vocational settings or adult transition programs, they may not have access to those sources every day. Suddenly, Johnny can no longer speak in full sentences. That is significant. They've spent years working with the education system and trying to maintain these skills. Chances are they probably will regress if that's not continuously reinforced post-secondary.
Oftentimes we'll get some challenging clients because they don't know necessarily what their higher levels of abilities are.
Okay, Sam, don't lay your glasses flat on the counter. That's not good for them.
For instance, toileting, changing their clothes, balancing a checkbook, making independent purchases. They may not be able to do it, not because they can't, but because they've never been given the opportunity to.
Yeah, this is actually what the baseball players, they really do this.
So as we're preparing them to now exit the school system and step into the real world, they're underprepared.
As soon as your child starts to enter high school, they need to start looking at what can your child do on a daily basis to help with daily living skills and identify what the child can't do. They need to figure out what the child's interests are. Does your child like to go biking? Does your child like to go to a religious organization or activity weekly? Building an inventory of preferences and likes as well as dislikes is crucial to helping them develop a transition plan.
You've got a kid that doesn't sleep very well and it's time to get up for school and we're late every day. Are you going to take that time to let it be a learning lesson and to let them brush their teeth themselves and let them fix their own breakfast? Or are you just going to do it for them because it's quicker? Now at that point, are you saying that they can't do it? Or are you saying that you just prefer to do it? So fast forward 5 years now, and the client refuses to do it because you've always done it for me. So we have to let them be independent. You have to let them spread those wings and let them do these things, let them make choices. It's the only way.
College has always been a topic of conversation in our family, and Liam has often expressed that he would like to go.
I have made a lot of friends with kids.
He has finished high school without a diploma. I won't give up on the idea that he can continue to access higher education. Fortunately, a few schools in the country are offering college living experiences and other educational opportunities for students with developmental disabilities.
So often, parents and students don't know what's available. That's especially important in the educational field. Most parents are like, oh, my kid can never go to college. But what they don't realize, in California especially, there are numerous college living experiences that sometimes can be paid through the regional center. And very many community colleges have college to career opportunities for students that can sometimes have peers go into the class with them to help them be successful. But if you don't know that, you're not going to elect that as a possible educational option.
What comes naturally to most people, friendship, is elusive for those on the spectrum. In their younger years, our children have events organized for them, birthday parties, sports, and classes that give them access to other children. Those activities fall away in young adulthood. Neurotypical adults make natural friendships and supportive relationships organically. That doesn't happen for most young adults with autism, yet they still crave closeness to their peers, just like anyone else, and feel deep loss and alienation as a result of their social difficulties.
Okay, go ahead and have a seat, Sam. It's just about ready.
Done.
Yeah.
I need a group of friends.
You need a group of friends? I agree. It's like every 16-year-old kid, he wants a group of friends, he wants a social network, he wants to hang out with a bunch of bros that are his, and he doesn't have that. And it's really hard to create that.
I need new friends that I like.
I mean, my mom is super concerned because my mom is like Sam's best friend.
The relationships have gotten harder as he's gotten older. Some friendships that he had have fallen away, and that's been really tough for him.
He's 16 years old and he doesn't have any friends from school. Like, he comes home, and the other day I was just in my room and he comes in and he's like, "Hallie, like, I just wish I had a friend."
The average 16-year-old kid doesn't necessarily want to have a friendship with someone who's on the spectrum. They don't act like other people act. It's personal space, it's repeating the same thing over and over again. It's just all those different things that, you know, kids like Sam struggle with. And I think that a lot of mainstream kids, they just don't know what to do. They don't know how to act.
He loves going to camp. That's the best week of his life because he's surrounded by kids and friends and peers. I think the age cutoff for that is about 22.
I mean, he'll always have his family, but he really does crave more than that, like community, friendship, relationships, and I really hope that he can have that.
I hope he's surrounded by people that he can have intimate relationship with someone in his life. I hope that for him. I hope that he has friendships and is happy.
Nationwide, more than half of young adults with autism are neither employed nor in school. Liam wants to contribute. He's at his best when he's doing something meaningful, not just busy work. All adults with autism deserve a chance to contribute in a tangible way. With the proper support, most of them can.
Employers have yet to connect with the skill set of what an autistic person could provide. They're concerned about taking on an employee that might be a liability in terms of safety, if it's something a little bit more industrial. If that employee cannot perform to the level of say a neurotypical employee, and they let that person go, are they going to get sued for discrimination? So a lot of them are backing away just for those liability fears.
If he were to work as an actor or anything else, they would see that there's difficulties there, and people might pass him over for a job because of that.
We have guys that we can train to do tasks, and they nail it, they're great. But they might be a little bit rough around the edges in terms of their soft skills, their social skills. And some of those things might be just being cordial around the office, but even more so taking initiative to approach a manager and ask a question, or if they are running out of tasks to do, to approach them and say, hey, I need some more work.
One of the things schools need to do is create a chart that helps parents and the student long-term plan and attach that to the transition plan. For example, if Johnny wants to work in a shoe store, each year he should have skills that equip him to do that. Start low if you need to, such as what do you do when a customer comes to you with a problem? If you have social skill deficits and you don't know what to do, easy, go get the manager, go get another employee. Teach them how to use a register, teach them how to take inventory and record inventory. Open the door, lock the door. There are numerous skills that children can learn very easily if done in the school structure and then expanded upon later on.
61% of adults with developmental disorders live at home in the care of a parent. That solution isn't sustainable. Liam can't live with us forever and wants to be independent. That probably isn't an option for him, or for Sam, Minna, or Zane. Currently, there are 3 other options: group homes, supported living, and affinity choice or intentional communities. A group home is run by a private agency and houses several adults along with staff. Typically, the residents will have jobs or day programs. Supported living means the adult lives in a private residence with staff to help with daily living skills and support, such as cooking, cleaning, and self-care. An intentional or affinity choice community is created by a group of families who build residences for their loved ones that include support staff, activities, and programs. None of these options are considered independent living.
I just see myself like in a house, either with a wife or kids, or maybe with a roommate. It depends. I'm decided on where, but I just see myself in there's a few different options.
I'd imagine he'd probably end up still living with mom and dad, because I don't know if he could just do everyday things like remembering to lock the door in his apartment or turning the stove off after he cooks something, or just those sorts of things could be problematic for him. Maybe a group home, maybe here. I don't know if he would be able to live on his own, but he certainly wants to.
If you want to live by yourself, we can have someone who will come in and assist you with, budgeting, meal planning, scheduling your doctor's appointments, attending your doctor's appointments. If they need some additional supports, we can have some live-in assistance.
For living on my own, I think steps would be like brushing my teeth, independently picking up, choosing my clothes, making breakfast, making lunch.
What does it mean to be independent?
To be on my own, that's what it means.
Scott and I think are under the frame of mind that he'll live with us as long as we're able to have him live with us and we're able to care for him. I don't know if he wants that though.
No, he doesn't want that.
He talks about wanting to live elsewhere.
I need to get out into the world. And we have a roommate.
Most of our clients right now, between 18 and 35, are still living at home. And I think that the market has yet to shift to start to include them into more alternatives.
We're not creating new housing models. We're not creating new options. We're not funding housing. We're not doing anything. But the numbers are obvious. It's just so expensive.
Most people are living at home because there's so few housing options out there. I constantly getting calls from aging parents. For example, just a couple of months ago, called me and she was saying that I'm in a wheelchair now. I'm 87 and I have a 65-year-old son with autism. Now, when can I bring him over to your intentional housing facility?
Waiting lists for intentional or affinity choice communities and some group homes can be 10 to 20 years long. What do families do if they need good housing for their loved ones now? What do you do if your loved one is aging out at the age of 65?
For intentional community, the housing part is provided by the families of that individual with special needs. But a lot of California is not so well to do, and it will be a huge challenge for the families themselves to provide the housing for their adult loved ones.
If we can create communities that are welcoming, that are supportive, and that have common interests and needs, we can pool our resources, and our children can have friends and family around them for their adult lives as they grow older.
I believe that Friends of Children with Special Needs model is everybody's dream. I'm very willing to share with other communities who want to build their own dream project and have their dream village for their special needs individuals. When the individual founders are not around anymore, we have built a system with caring staff, and hopefully everything will just run forever and ever so that the upcoming population with special needs can also benefit from this system we developed.
Even if we do our best to prepare them, what if our sons and daughters don't get jobs? What if they can't ever live independently? The reality is that many of them won't. This is the toughest question I have to ask. Who will take care of my son when I'm gone?
We don't live forever, right? We get cancer, we get Alzheimer's, we get Parkinson's, we get all kinds of, broken hips and broken knees. We can't, be dependent on to take care of these very challenging, high needs people for the rest of our lives. Even if we're alive, it doesn't mean we have the capacity to care for them.
What if your parents weren't in the picture?
I think that would be tough. They do a lot for him, but I'd imagine that he would have to live with me, or I would find maybe a group home or something, but I don't know if that would be a good choice. I might need to help him financially or just to support him.
We need to cultivate a new breed of autism care worker that we don't currently have. And those people need to be trained, they need to be paid, they need to be supported.
Purple or green?
We are facing a rapidly expanding market because the population is just exploding. Are we doing anything to cultivate the autism care workers that will be needed for these adults? We're not doing anything.
It is not easy to find support staff for our intentional community because the pay is so low. The staff will work for a little while and then they will find a better paying job and then go away. Sometimes it feels like we are training the staff for other people. And this is very, very heartbreaking for our agency and also for the families that have special needs loved ones.
Many of our best employees were leaving to start their own service providing agencies because we train. We do give them professional growth opportunities. So on one hand, we may lose a great staff person, but we know that we are adding to the greater system. The goal for us at the end of the day is we want our participants to go home and be happy and also feel like they've done something.
I like plays. I used to put on plays when I was younger.
When he was about 5, we wrote Hansel and Gretel. We adapted Hansel and Gretel, and then we turned that into a movie. And I noticed that no matter what else was going on with his behaviors, and believe me, sometimes it was brutal, when I gave him a script and lines to say and a part to play, he could focus 100%.
And usually, like, if I'm acting, I would like have my lines, and then I would memorize everyone else's lines.
So it was really interesting to me that that seemed to be his thing.
Like the idea of being an actor. It's fun and it's a little bit challenging.
Last winter, he started with a group at New Village Arts Theater in Carlsbad that was for special needs teens and adults.
I take 2 acting classes. Yeah. And they're helping me become a better actor.
So they spent 6 weeks, this group, writing a sketch comedy performance.
Who, by a show of hands, wrote an original sketch?
And that was, I think, the happiest night of Liam's life.
Acting in plays, I just like anything that has to do with acting.
And at the end of this performance, he ran up to me and his coach and said, "Mama, I want to be an actor." And I thought, why not?
Well, my main job is an actor because I see that as, I feel like I'm good at that. Acting because, plus I would get paid more.
What I love is that he enjoys it, and I can't speak to talent. That's not my background. But if he loves it, then it's a huge thing for us. It's a huge win. And with any vocation, if someone loves something, they're going to be good at it.
Where do you think you'd go to be an actor?
I'm not sure yet. I'll have to see. Maybe Hollywood.
I do think there's a talent there, and I think there's a uniqueness. There's a quality of Liam that nobody else has that he brings to what he does.
I want to start with plays. I used to do great at that. And maybe shows or movies or just whatever.
I would love for him to be an actor who happens to have autism. But I think the world is changing. People who have been underrepresented are saying, you know what? We want to see ourselves up there too. And his group, people with disabilities, people with autism, that's one of those groups that's been underrepresented and misrepresented. So why couldn't he represent himself?
Well, for me, really excited, really happy to be acting.
I didn't find any simple answers for the thousands of autism families who are facing uncertainty. What's needed is a societal change such that massive funds are allocated to provide housing, training, and care for those autistic adults who need it. But I hope the stories of Minna, Zane, Sam, and Liam will spread awareness. I do know one thing. It will be parents who will fight for resources, just as we've been fighting all along. It will be parents who will create new housing models and start new businesses and nonprofits to benefit our children. But the care of our sons and daughters isn't just our responsibility. Call it a tribe, call it a village, call it a family. Whatever you call it, we need it. And we need it now.